I have a gripe with Arc Raiders, and I don't think it respects your time. So, I was greeted with this message from somebody in my Discord that the skill points earned from the expedition are going to require 1 million credits, 1 million coins, for one skill point. Now, when Arc Raiders came out, I played 180 hours of Arc Raiders. I spent the entire month of November no lifing the game. I do not have a job. I make YouTube videos. All I did was play Arc Raiders. I did very little regarding other stuff on my channel. So when I heard I'm going to need some extra money in credits stored up for the end of the expedition, I held on to 1 million credits. My stash is always completely full. And I estimated its value at somewhere around 2.5 million, so I might have 3.5 million. Now, I could have sold more and saved up some more money, but we're talking about me playing this game in trios, casually, and sometimes harder. No lifing this game for an entire month, putting in more hours than a full-time job for these 5 skill points that I just assumed I would have. I would assume that that million credits would be enough. Now, they weren't transparent with this credit value. And this is on top of, everything else that the expedition requires. They already want, near 1 million of other things and items within the game. They want combat items, survival items, provisions, materials. They want you to get this for the expedition. And that is on top of all the other materials for the different levels of the expedition. And I don't feel like the game respects your time in that matter. So, the game wants you to do weekly trials and compete. I understand that's sort of like a pseudo-competitive system. But in what world is it okay with anyone who has any sort of job or responsibilities outside of playing video games to have to grind that much money and that many credits in this game to earn the maximum amount of skill points for the expedition? And I understand you can do the next expedition months ahead. But what I see is I see a game that's going through predatory practices of essentially saying, well, if you want to have things in our game, you need to no-life our game. This needs to be your only game. And we want you to stay here as much as possible and go nowhere else. But it doesn't do it in a fun and engaging way. They do it in an MMO-level grind kind of way. And I feel like the game isn't respecting anybody's time at that point, because I'm not going to sit here and hold on to 5 million credits or 3 million credits plus my stash and play the game non-stop all day like it is a full-time job for 5 skill points. Now, they could have been transparent with this value and credit amount that the expedition would require on top of the other things in the expedition. But they weren't. They announced it at the last second. So now people have a week to try and catch up. And there's going to be very few people who have this many credits stored up. And I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments say, yes, I have, 4 million. It wasn't that bad. I could have done that too, but I assumed it would be a much more reasonable number. That's why I held on to 1 million and then proceeded to spend my money to do runs with my friends so that they could finish trials or help everyone finish all their quests. I finished all my quests, I did all my trials, and I progressed through the trial system every week that I played. I'm not really sure what the goal here is in the long term, other than trying to force people to no-life the game in a grind set mentality. And I don't think that's cool, and I'm going to say it, I just don't think it's worth your time, and I don't think it's feasible for most people casually playing this game. So hopefully they lower these goals to a more reasonable number, because I put in 185 hours, and I thought I was in the clear completely with my 3-something million credits and finishing every piece of the expedition and doing all my quests and doing all my trials with 3 stars. But apparently that is not enough to earn the maximum amount of skill points, and then you have to wait multiple months to either try and build up more expedition value, or you just don't get those skill points. And you go forward, resetting all of your quest and blueprint progression with the horrible blueprint drop rates. And this is on top of the game already having spawn location issues and being inherently a PvP-focused game, where I feel like there needs to be more arc to disincentivize how bad the PvP has gotten, but also the spawns are getting really bad, as in 2 to 3 minute pushes at the beginning of a match, along with being forced into late spawns with these high value loadouts. So I really, really hope they lower this ceiling down so that it is reasonable for someone who plays the game, say 40 or 50 hours a month, to save up these millions of credits, because right now, it's not balanced for anything other than the top 1%. And that's just not fair to the average gamer for such a popular game. Peace out, guys.